Okay, ellipses. One of the things that I forgot to point out with circles is one of the ways that you know that something is a circle is the coefficients to x squared and y squared are going to be exactly the same. Now notice, right now we're talking about ellipses. And a circle is a special type of ellipse. It just happens to be that all the radii are the same, correct? Well, if you look at an ellipse, notice we have x squared plus y squared is equal, instead of r squared, we have it equal to 1. And notice there is a value underneath, in this case 16. Well, that's the same thing as a squared. And under here, that's the same thing as b squared. But another way to look at that, we could have said 1/16 x squared plus 1/81 b squared is equal to 1. Notice the coefficients, y squared, sorry. The coefficients attached to the x and y are different. That's how you know it's going to be an ellipse. When the coefficients attached to the x squared and the y squared are the exact same, that's going to be a circle. When the coefficients indicated by values underneath that are different, that's what indicates it's going to be an ellipse. All right, so here are some things that you need to be aware of. So the center of an ellipse is still HK. In this case, notice the center is at 0, 0. So when you have an x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1, the center will automatically be 0, 0. Only when you have an x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equal to 1 over a squared and over b squared, then this right here tells you that the center of the ellipse will not be at the origin. But when it's set up like this, x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equal to 1, the center is going to be 0, 0. And then also, and if you type this into Desmos just like that, you'll get an ellipse, right? But another point of an ellipse will be a foci, and it'll be somewhere in through here. Maybe I'll do this and do this. It's probably not going to be the case. But an ellipse, remember, a parabola has one focus, but an ellipse has two. And this is how you find the focus. So if, here's the a squared and the b squared, if the a is greater than, I have it right here. If the a is greater than b, then this is how you find the focus. But if the b is greater than c, and notice, when the b is greater than c, it is a vertical ellipse. When the a is bigger than the b value, it would be a horizontal ellipse. So let me go ahead and erase some of this stuff. So in this case right here, if we want to find the focus, we're going to do c squared is equal, the b is larger, so 81, remember that's b squared, minus 16, which is, so c squared is equal to b squared minus a squared. Well, these are already squared, so c squared, 81, subtract 16, I think it's 65. So when you take the square root of both sides, c is equal to both positive and negative square root 65. Well, that's just a little bit more than 8, right? Because the square root of 64 is 8. So that's going to be 8.0 something. I don't know, 08. Or maybe it'll round to 8.1. So I was pretty close. So the focus would be, so you start at, notice only the y changes since it's a vertical ellipse. the focus will be the y value changes. So we're going to, the focus will be 0 and then 0 plus square root 65. And the other focus will be at 0, comma, 0 subtract square root 65. Just like that. So that's what shapes the ellipse. So let's look at another one. So notice here we have a horizontal ellipse, and look at the A. So here's A squared, and here's B squared. Notice the A value is going to be bigger. So to find the focus, or the foci, since there's two of them, would be C squared is equal to 25 subtract 9, because the A is bigger. C squared is equal to 16. When you take the square root of both sides, C is equal to 4. Now notice, because it's a horizontal, somewhere in through here is going to be the foci. But we first have to find the center of the ellipse. And that's where this is going to come in handy. Whatever zeroes out inside the parentheses with the x will be the x value. So the opposite of 1 is -1. And for the y value of the vertex, the opposite of 1 is also -1. So at -1, -1. Oh, that's not -1 right there. -1, here's -1. That makes a lot more sense. Sorry about that. There we go. That's the center of the ellipse. And then notice we're going to go 4 values to the right. So this is positive and -4, and 4 values to the left. So right here at -1, -1, notice we're going to go this way and that way. So we're going to, so the foci will be -1 plus 4, and then the y value stays the same, and then -1 subtract 4, and the y value stays the same, which this becomes 3, -1. So at 3, -1, and -1 subtract 4 is -5, so at -5, -1. Right about there. And there's our center and our 2 foci for an ellipse. And there's gonna be something called eccentricity. We won't get into that yet. But and then there are going to be things that we have to do, like before we can get it in that form right there, we might have to complete the square. But for now, this is how you find the focus and center, foci and center of an ellipse.